Amy just starting the record button. So if you'd prefer not to be in the recording, please feel free to turn off your video. And welcome back. We're really excited for Ryan to join us for this last round, focusing on, I believe, stakeholder communications. And so I think without further ado, I think pretty much I think I've seen in one of these before. So we'll just pass it on to Ryan. Thanks so much for being here.
All right. Well, hi everyone. I am in a little bit of a different place today. So just to give you all some feedback, in Bell County where I live, we have started through our Chamber of Commerce. It's called the Bell County Youth Leadership Program. So a lot of our counties have an adult leadership class that you go through monthly or whatever. Well, we wanted to do that for our youth. And so this is our second month. And today we focused on healthcare. So we took a group of 15 students from 3 different schools to our hospital. And then we are also at the local community college as well. So they can learn more about healthcare careers. And it was super cool because we got to see a heart cath today. We actually got to go in the room and watch them do it. And so it was really, really, really neat. But I'm at the community college today. So I shoved the kids over and I was like, y'all go do your tours over here and I'm going to go do something else over here. So I found an empty classroom. So I might, who knows what it looks like over here, but I am excited to be with you all today. Let me share my screen so we can pull up our presentation if I can find it. Let's see here. 1 second. Let's make sure I've got it open. Okay. Back to Zoom, share. Here we go. And I'm working off my laptop today, so y'all just bear with me as we push through this. And since I am working off my laptop, I do not have my chat open. So if there is anything that I'm missing on the chat, y'all just interrupt me and tell me what I'm missing and what I need to answer.
We will help you track that, Ryan.
Thank you very, very much. So today we are going to be talking about communicating with funders, volunteers, and key stakeholders. So over the past few weeks, we've talked about storytelling, social media, newsletters, and how to communicate your mission effectively. But today we're going to talk about how to tailor that message to the different people that you're going to be talking to. So the first thing I want to do is let's do a quick check-in. So how are you, and what's one thing that you have learned so far during this training? Anybody want to chime in? We'll just have a couple of you answer.
I can go if we need somebody.
Okay.
I'm Beth. I'm not gonna lie, I'm tired. But I worked over the weekend and had some long days already this week. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, it's only Wednesday. But something I found fascinating on the details about the different social media platforms, who's on which ones, and how often it is best to be posting on this. So I thought that was fascinating.
Good. Awesome. Anybody else?
I can go next. Hi, everyone. Hannah Matangos here, Art of the Rural, Kentucky Rural Urban Exchange, calling in from Pennsylvania. So I'm cold. We actually had our first real snow. So it's a little chilly up here today. But something I learned, I couldn't be here last time, but in watching the recording, I found the one call to action for a newsletter, just something I needed to hear. So
Yeah.
thank you.
You are welcome. And I think that is for all of us, there's so much important work. So we want to tell everybody about all the things. And so I think sometimes we forget that they can only take in those, important pieces, that small piece. So yeah. Anybody else? One more?
Ryan, we have some people in the chat wondering if you could make that full screen for us.
I can. Yes. Let me.
Very much.
I always forget to do that. How's that? Better?
Much better. Thanks,
Okay.
Ryan.
Sorry about that. You're welcome. Okay. All right. Well, let's move on then. We will move on to the next slide here. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the foundation. So, really understanding your audience. So, when you think about your three main audiences, funders, volunteers, and partners, your funders, when you are communicating with them, they are looking for the results. They want to see clarity. They do want to hear some data, but they also want to hear confidence, right? They're funding you. They want to hear some confidence in the message. Volunteers are more about the purpose. They want to feel like they're doing something that matters, like they're a part of something that really matters. And then your partners, well, they want alignment. They want to learn about things like ways they can collaborate with you, how they can coordinate different projects. They want to know about any kind of shared goals that you are possibly working on. So when you think about your audience, make sure that you are working on messaging that speaks directly to what each group is looking for. All right, I've got to move my screen a little bit because I've got you all up here and now I can't see my words on my screen. Let me move it over here. Okay, so let's look at funders more. We're going to go into each one a little bit more detailed. So we're going to start with the funders. So funders, they want messages that are clear, focused, results oriented. They do care about that data, the more important stuff. They want to hear very specific results, data that demonstrates progress, evidence that you have listened to your community. They want to hear your long-term vision, and they want to know how their investment has accelerated impact. If you remember last week, we talked about even the idea of if you've got a funder, sending a thank you note that's not immediately after, they've made their donation, but sending it, 6 months down the road when you've got a specific story about how their investment has made a difference. So if you think about how they were able to accelerate an impact or how they were able to make a difference, that's what they were wanting to hear. They really do not want to hear a list of outcomes. They don't want to hear a long list of activities. They don't want any kind of like heavy narrative or emotional thing. They are not interested in jargon or buzzwords. I have worked with people before that it is like almost impossible to have a conversation with them because of all the buzzwords, and you just want to be like, talk like a real person. And so that's, your funders just want clear, give them the info and move on. They want that very focused messaging, not unfocused messaging. So I tried to put a helpful formula on here for all of you for each audience. So if you think about funders, think about, you had a problem, that then there's an action, right? They gave you the money. You want to show the evidence of the money that they were able to give you, what you've been able to do, the impact, and then what's going to be next. So when you think about that structure, that's what your funders are looking for. Does anybody have questions about funders? Okay. So when you are reaching out to them, you can use this. This is that formula at the bottom. So, the problem is clear and focused. The action, what you're doing about it. The evidence, you can give some data and a short story. You can, you want to show the impact, why it matters. You want to connect those dots between your work and community change. And then the next thing, the what's next, is tell the funders what additional impact their support can make. Funders are going to respond to confidence, clarity, and outcomes. So we'll say that again. Funders respond to confidence, clarity, and outcomes. Our volunteers are going to be just a little bit different. So, they want a more personal, clear, still, and inspiring message. When you think about volunteers, your messaging should answer these three questions. Why is it important? Where do I fit? And what difference will I personally make? They want to know personally, how is their volunteerism, their time, how are they able to make a difference and why is that important? They need clear instructions because the reality is they're volunteering their time and they don't have the time to stop and think about how am I going to make this happen? They need you to give them clear instructions, clear expectations, why it matters, how their contribution is going to make people feel. They want to feel appreciated. So be very specific and not generic, not just thank you, we appreciate you, but we appreciate you because. And then they do want those stories that are going to help them feel connected. And so the formula here is warm, clear, specific, and appreciative. So when reaching out to volunteers, you can use this formula. So think about a mission connection. You've got to ask them for what you need, how it's going to impact them, what are the logistics, and say thank you. They want to know that what they're doing matters. And then partners. So I feel like this is really where, in my current role, this is kind of where I have been, been living for a while, is communicating with partners. And so when I think about how we communicate with our partners, we want to have a message that's very collaborative. Because if they are partnering with you, they're not volunteering their time and giving their time, they're partnering with you. So how does this work benefit both of us? So for instance, if at the Appalachian Cradle to Career Partnership, if we are partnering with Brushy Fork, how does that partnership benefit both of us? Because if they're going to give their time, Brushy Fork needs something from it, App C2C needs something from it. And then also, how does this support our shared mission or population? So if you think about your partners, you don't want to invite people to be partners with you just for the sheer sake of numbers. You want partners that are going to fit each of your missions. And then how will you coordinate to avoid duplication? And I think this one is huge because, there are lots of organizations out there that are doing similar things. So how can you work together to keep from, doing the same thing or even tapping into the same people, especially volunteers? How can you all work together on a shared mission? And then, be clear. What do you need from me? What do I need to bring? What will you bring? How can you work together on that? Partners want clarity. They don't want things to be ambiguous. They need to know what are the expectations of this partnership. They need to be aligned. They want to know how will you combine the resources or strengths. So the same way that, Mike reached out to the App C2C to ask even for this training, this is something that as partners, we can collaborate on and work together on. And then, efficiency. We want to value your time. If you're going to be in a partner meeting that is an hour and a half long, we need to make sure that we are efficient and we have good use of that time. And then just be transparent. Partners want to know if something's not working, that's okay. It doesn't mean it's wrong or it's bad. It just means that, we might need to punt and try again, and that's okay. And so we can work together to be professional, respectful, transparent, make sure that we are aligned and solution oriented. So here's your simple structure for communicating with partners. You want to make sure that you have a shared purpose, that there is an opportunity that you are going to work together on. So you want to always explain what that collaboration is. Talk about your mutual benefit and your role. So you want to spell out the responsibilities clearly. I know with App C2C, we have a contract that we all sign as partners. And so we make sure that everyone understands the role and the responsibilities as partners. And then that mutual benefit. So make sure that when you are inviting someone to be a partner, that you definitely have a way to serve both missions, and that you can collaborate on a coordinated plan. And then again, show appreciation. Show your partners that you appreciate them, that you are thankful for them. Partners thrive when both groups feel valued and understood. There is nothing worse than a partner that does not feel equal. They don't feel like they're helpful. And so in order to make that relationship last, you want to make sure that everyone feels respected, heard, acknowledged, and that sort of thing. Do you all have any questions about either of those? Anybody? Okay. So how do we do that? So the biggest thing that you want to do is focus on strengths-based communication. To me, this is, and I put this on here, this is one of the most important shifts that nonprofits can make. Oftentimes as nonprofits, you know, there's going to be an issue, right? Like you may not have enough money, you may not have enough volunteers, there may not be this or that. But if you can focus on your strengths when you are communicating, that is the biggest shift you can make. You can share that you have a need, but you don't necessarily want to feel needy, if that makes any sense at all. Excuse me. Strengths-based messaging focuses on resilience, potential, progress, and possibility. This doesn't mean that you're going to ignore your challenges. It just means that you are framing community members with dignity and agency. Strengths-based messaging builds trust and long-term engagement. I love when we can include youth. So this may not matter to every organization, but if there is an opportunity to include a youth voice, there is just something authentic about a youth voice that makes a huge difference in all communication. They bring an energy that us as adults cannot bring. And it's an honesty to that communication that is just something that your community will value. Excuse me, guys. I'm so sorry. I've got a cough. When you include youth voices, you're not just working for youth, but you're working with the youth. And the reality is, and here I am with my youth leadership group today, so this fits perfectly, but your community will value youth leadership. So if you have, even if you have, I'm thinking about our legal firm, maybe you all have youth internships. You know, you can't share a lot about the work if you have a youth client, but if you have a youth intern, then you could share that voice as that, you know, from that perspective. But think about outside the box how you can share voices of the youth in your program or somehow in your community. Youth voices shift your narrative from we're fixing the youth to the youth are our co-leaders in our community. And that is just one of those things that if you really want to build your community, focus on the youth because that's your future. And then building a more positive community narrative. So a positive narrative is built intentionally, and it is built through small, consistent storytelling decisions. We have talked about this for the last 4 weeks, how we don't always have to go in and tell the giant story, or we don't have to tell every story. But if we can focus on those small stories and be consistent, that's where you're going to see the biggest shift, and it will just happen over time. So think about sharing stories that celebrate small wins. Think about highlighting strengths. Think about elevating local partners. That is one thing that I think makes a huge difference. It's not always about you, but sometimes it's about your partners. It's about your volunteers. It's about the people who are a part of your organization in ways that, you know, are outside of the box. So think about that. You want to reflect the culture and the identity of who you are in a positive way, and then focus on possibilities and not limitations. So you want to use the language that is going to emphasize possibility. It's so easy to go to your, you know, say, we need this or we need that, but really focus on changing that language to emphasizing the possibility. And I will tell you, you're going to be talking tomorrow, and I'll be on there, about AI. So if you get stuck and you think, I know this is a negative, I'm saying this in a negative way, pop it into ChatGPT and say, help me change this so that my language is more about possibility than limitations. Those are the ways that you can use AI to help you, especially if you are a small organization and you have a lack of capacity, which like most of us do. AI can help you in those areas so much. And we're going to get finished really fast because I thought that this would take a whole lot longer. But guys, I'm going to give you a lot of your Wednesday back apparently. But our key takeaways right now are funders want to feel the impact, volunteers want to feel the purpose, and partners want to feel that alignment with you. Your youth are going to want use youth to have an authentic voice when you're talking to them, and then just tailor your message to what each audience is looking for most. When you think about what your funders value or what your partners value or what your volunteers value, that is when your communication is going to become transformational instead of transactional. And that's what you're looking for when you are building your organizations. So what questions do you guys have for me about that?
Michael here.
Yeah.
With the different audiences, I know it varies with each relationship, but how often? I mean, that's you also don't want any individual communication to be bombarding them, but you also don't want to be bombarding them with too frequent communications.
I think funders, if you are communicating with them once a quarter, that is plenty. Absolutely plenty. I think with partners and volunteers, once a month is appropriate. Anybody else have feedback on that? What other questions?
While people are thinking, I have a comment in terms of youth participation. Youth are also looking for us to be authentic with them and not engaging them for a quote. So there is hardly anything I can think of that any of us do that we don't genuinely need and want youth input. But they've got to see we have a focus group. These are decisions we're making. We want you part of the decisions. We have the Big Ugly Community Center. There's a youth council that meets on a regular basis. And what do you want to do? Well, we'll shape that. That'll influence our grant writing. That'll do this or that. And they recognize that we're not always going to be able to do everything that they want to do. But you have to connect those dots and give them that feedback that their input led to this change, or they're not going to hang out with you.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Ryan, I have a bit of a wondering whether you've done a fantastic job over this arc of providing us examples of organizations that have been like, hey, take a look at using Foundation for Appalachian Kentucky as an example that you referenced earlier. So is there a particular organization that you go, oh, they do this pretty doggone well. You might want to pop over and do a little creeping there. So yeah, any thoughts about that?
I think that the Kentucky Community and Technical College does an incredible job sharing with, and I'm just so that you all know, December 1st, I will actually be going back to work for the community college system. So thank you. But I think they do a great job because they are obviously working with funders. They are working with, students and volunteers. But they do a great job sharing those youth voices. And then let me think about who else does that really well. I'm blanking on the organization. Oh, Thompson Scholars. Is Gina on here? Okay, I don't think she's on today, but
about this time, yeah.
They do such a great job. If you're not following them, I do recommend that. They do a great job with their youth voices. And then she is working on some other communications to be able to, do more communication through funders and things like that. But I think they do a great job as well. I was blanking on their names for a second. how many of you are sending individual newsletters? So like sending something to funders, sending something to, volunteers or partners. Are you not?
So we have a volunteer newsletter, and then we have one that's for donors and alumni.
Okay. So I recommend doing that because I think people are more likely to continue working with you if you give them that information. And just like Michael said, though, don't bombard them. So if you're thinking about, Beth, how often do you send your newsletters?
So we were doing the donor one monthly, but we changed that to quarterly, but our volunteer one is monthly.
Yeah. Okay, that's perfect. And that's what I would recommend too. So letting your funders know quarterly kind of what's going on in your world and how their investment has helped shape what you're doing. But I do think the volunteers and the partners is monthly for sure. Any other questions or ideas?
Ryan, I do want to report that we did a little snooping after last week's series, and Jamie was our primarily out bird dogging to see did it show up? Was there evidence showing up? And Emily, we noticed that you did some tailoring. Jamie, I know you were checking in on folks, but just to see where there changes taking some of that. So yeah. Jamie, anything you want to add to that?
No, I just saw Emily share something that she talked about that was inspiration for a post from here, and it was just really great to see it in action. So
That's
great
awesome.
job.
Well, in full transparency, please do not go look at the AppC2C page because we have been a little understaffed. And so you all know how this goes in the nonprofit world, right? We've been a little understaffed. We've been a little overwhelmed. And I am finishing up trying to tie up some loose ends so that I can pass the torch on to somebody else. So give us a minute before we pull that back up. But yes, so don't go snooping there.
Emily, did you find that any difference in responses or likes or any metrics from in doing a little test of change or an experiment with your posts?
Oh, you're muted, Emily.
I think we did get a few more responses. Yeah. And the emotional aspect of, the post, the narrative, that's shared and so forth. I mean, I think that's a major thing for us. There was a post that we did for our last episode in our season 4, Stories Behind the Quilt, and it evoked a lot of emotional responses. So, I really didn't fully think about all of that before, but now it's embedded in me now, so that I'll work on gearing up, all of my posts, most of my posts with that in mind. So it's I really appreciate this workshop because it's kind of opened up some things for me.
I'm so glad. And consistency is key. So you're going to have moments just like at the AppC2C we've had last week or so where things get away from you and you look up and you're like, oh my goodness, I have not posted like I should have. But getting right back on that wagon and trying to be as consistent as possible. And that's where scheduling things and using your scheduler comes in handy, because when you do have a week that gets away from you, then you've already got things scheduled. And a lot of times in your scheduler, it'll have suggested, like ours has some of the most like random and obscure holidays too, so things like it's STEM Day or, it's Hamburger Lovers Day. I mean, you just never know. And so there's ways that you can maybe even just do a fun post just to kind of help get that interaction, get yourself back in everybody's algorithm. Because for whatever reason, people will comment on Hamburger Day or some obscure, holiday. They'll want to be involved in whatever you're asking them to do in that. So those are the kind of things I always recommend is have a little fun in there too. So yes, Miss Emily.
One of the this has really made me think about the activities that we're doing throughout the week, or a couple of weeks or so. But it's making me think about those things that we're doing, and then it comes to mind. Well, what kind of post will this make? How can I this little activity here? How can I share? What's the story there that I can share? So, it's been good.
That makes me so happy. Kathy, I think you're muted. We still can't hear you.
Couldn't
There you
find the
go.
little button. This has been so good because this is probably out of my frame that I usually work in. In fact, I'm not a direct volunteer. I'm a volunteer for decision making is really what I am, kind of help them make decisions or what directions we should go in. But looking at this, I realized that we're not sharing the message like we need to. So I did try to do the Facebook posts from the previous one. Well, then what I didn't even realize is one of the we only have 2 Facebook pages, but the one I posted on, the only people that see it are just people who are on that Facebook page. It's not a public page.
It's a group.
I didn't know that, like, well, okay. Yeah. And then I went, they said, well, you probably put it on the wrong one. You need to put it on this one. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm just going to kind of copy it, and put it on the public one.
Yeah, because if you've got a private group, then it doesn't show up in everybody's news feed. But if you have a public page, that's different. Yeah.
Right. So I didn't even realize that it was not, just doing that. I just learned, okay, well, I didn't know that. And I also realized we're really not sharing the story like we need to. We're not doing I'd give us about an F.
No, I'm sure it's not an F.
I've learned a lot about, well, people know by word of mouth, but that's the only way they know. They just know and many people come to us for services, so that's not an issue. It's not an issue about using it, but we probably could generate a few more donations if we shared the message in a public manner rather than in a private manner.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I really appreciate this opportunity for this learning.
Well, I have loved being here with all of you. I'm so sad that our time is over. I did put in the chat my email address. This is my personal email address. I would love to stay connected to you all. If you have Facebook, you can friend me. I've got all the LinkedIn, all the things, and so I definitely want us to be able to stay connected, and I want to be able to just be a thought partner in anything that you all have going on, any questions that you have. I know today's was a little bit shorter. It's a little not as intensive, stuff to talk about. I mean, this is how you talk to funders. This is how you talk to partners. This is how you talk to volunteers. But so it's not quite as much as we talked about before.
One more thing that might make it a little bit longer.
Okay, let's go.
The annual report. I know there's conversation about AI in that tomorrow, but who of these different audiences think needs to get one? And just, is there still a place for paper with any of this? Everything we've been talking about mostly is electronic. Are there audiences that, we're looking at doing a saturation mailing on Big Ugly just because there are folks that are not online, and creates kind of a buzz. And it's not that expensive because there's like 600 households total. But what's your thoughts about still having some audiences that like to get something in actual paper print?
If you have an audience that likes to get things in paper, then I say have it. I think that we are living in a time right now where you still need both. We're not in a place or a time. Yeah, Lydia, I agree. She said, I think it depends on your audience and what your service or offer is. 100%. I don't think we're in a time right now where everything is digital. I think Some people really, and it's not even also about age, but I mean, you've got some people are just going to want to hold it. They want to hold it. They want to flip the pages. They want to touch it. They want to be able to carry it with them or whatever. Then you're going to have some people who are like me, and I want to be able to pull that up on my phone and look at it because I am on the go all the time. And so I need it to be there for me because of convenience. And so I think it's just absolutely all about your audience and what you need. Have you all ever heard of simplebooklet.com? It is a very, very, very easy app to use, and it works through Canva. What's that say?
Looks a little bit like this, I think, Ryan.
It does.
Yeah.
But you can create it in Canva and then upload it, and you can literally, it's just a digital, it looks like a magazine, and the pages flip. You can embed videos in it. And so the one that we are doing for App-C2C, we just did one for an organization in Texas. We were able to embed a video in it. So you stop, you watch the video, and then you can flip the page. It's a really, really neat tool, very inexpensive to use. There is a little subscription to it, but it is not much. But I encourage you to look at something like that, a little flip book too. But then once you have that, then you can save it as a PDF. Obviously, you're not going to get the video components or whatever, but you can download that as a PDF and print that out. And then you've got both versions of printed and a digital.
And who should get annual reports of these audiences?
So definitely funders. Definitely funders. And for funders, I would absolutely have a print and a digital version for them because it's going to just depend on your audience there. But I would have it available for everyone. I mean, your volunteers, your partners for sure. But, when I think about the first time that I went to Thompson Scholars, they had their annual report, and I was just there to volunteer. Mike, I can't remember if you were there or not. I know Eamon was there. But that's my first exposure to them. I had absolutely no clue what they did. I knew nothing about them. I was just told, go volunteer. So I showed up at this beautiful A-frame house with these incredible teachers and students. And I was just in awe of the work that they do. And so I sat down before we got started and I flipped right through that annual report, and it told me everything I needed to know about, who they were and what I was doing. Issue, yes. Issue is another one. It's great too. I've used both. I actually really like Simple Booklet better. That's just me. But they all work basically the same.
And I think the thing that I like about Issue is that you can take each article or each section and turn it into its own little micro piece that then you can, so it's whenever I say parse out, like you can then link to it from social media, and it is super handy. And it also, Issue has a very strongly developed search engine optimization framework. And so, which means that it crawls through all of your annual reports and then uploads that like into Google or whatever search engine or platform. And it can boost your search engine rankings, which is really nice too.
It is. It is.
Any other questions or reflections to share, since we do still have a little time?
It would be to get an email list for everybody, not just cutting and pasting. Maybe we could let Jamie or somebody know if we don't want, but it seems like we all like to hear each other. So just a contact list. So, because the names don't always exactly match what's in the email. So if that would be something to follow up on.
Yeah, I think we could probably work that out. And I do think also, Jaden, sorry to put you on the spot, but was there talk of there being a Facebook page for affiliates? So that would be another good place to, yeah, please, Jaden, go ahead.
Yes. We do have an active Facebook page for Berea College Appalachian Fund, which is more of an outward-facing page. That one doesn't have as many posts or anything, but we do also have an affiliate group that we just began, probably about a month ago now. That is a private group, so everything that's shared in there doesn't go externally outside of that group. But you guys should have received an email if you're an affiliate with the information and the link to join that. If you didn't receive one, you can email us at appalachianfund@berea.edu, and then I can send you out that link as well.
Thank you for that, Jaden. Any other questions?
Of course, Jaden, you'll be audited, of course, Jaden, to make sure that everything that you've learned over this series shows up on those Facebook pages. So no pressure there, Jaden, whatsoever.
There will be a great model of all of the social media strategies for
I
your
love
use.
that. I love that. Well, I'm going to miss our weekly chats, so I hope that you all will connect with me and we can stay friends going forward. I have enjoyed you all so much, and I've learned a lot from you all too. So I appreciate you all bearing with me on some of my technical stuff too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you all for joining. Just a quick reminder that tomorrow we will be joined by Jordan Carmike. Can you see my screen? Yes. For Simplify, Streamline, and Share AI-powered impact reports. Jordan will also bring a lot of great energy and knowledge to this discussion. So it's tomorrow from 2 to 3:30. And you will get a follow-up email from us with links to all of the recordings for the series. So if you missed one, you can go back and watch. We'll also drop that Facebook link for the affiliates to join. If you're not a Berea College Appalachian Fund grantee, then don't worry about that piece of it. And you might also be hearing from some of us sometime in the near future about supporting our efforts in revitalizing our organizational assessment tool. So we will be reaching out, but if that's something you'd like to volunteer to take, if you remember taking that big long survey when you first got the grant, so probably not too long ago, we would be grateful for folks who are willing to provide some feedback as we redesign that piece of the process. So Brushy Fork team, any other thoughts to share before we wrap up this series?
From me, Ryan, just gratitude for you and the gift of your time over these 4 sessions and the planning that went into that. So much gratitude to you. Our partners, we talked about partnerships, Brushy Fork's partnership with the Appalachian Fund to be able to coordinate and strengthen your organizations to better serve the young people in Hazard and the young people in West Virginia and Big Ugly and all the places that are represented here, Rise, Cindy, as well. So just thinking about, hopefully this makes your work a little bit more impactful for the folks that you serve. So Ryan, Appalachian Fund, and everyone who's been attending, thank you so much. Much appreciation.
Thank you all so much. Mike, I guess I'll see you in a partner meeting tomorrow.
See you in a partner meeting tomorrow. Hey, Cindy, any chance you could stay on for just a minute?